let's start to bring in maybe 3 things that we're grateful for today. And they can be big things like a person, family, or they can be something really small, like eating, a good avocado today. So just pick 3 things that you're grateful for. Just taking some time to really think about them. Noticing if any nagging thoughts are starting to come up to interrupt you. Just gently pushing them aside. Feeling thankful for being able to take this time for yourself. Thankful for your health. And then you can open the eyes. Now let's take one more big inhale as we lift those arms up. And exhale, let's bring the hands back through to heart center. Great, now we're gonna move into a tabletop position. So you can get here however is comfortable for you. Just coming onto the hands and knees, the shoulders above the wrist, the knees above the hips. And we're just gonna start to do little circles with the hips, bringing them forward and back. And if you're comfortable here, you can start to make the circles even bigger, maybe dropping the hips down a little lower and sending them a little farther back. And hopefully you guys can't hear all my joints cracking. And then let's just reverse the direction of our circle, sending the hips the other way. Again, you can make these as big as you like or as small as you like, just slowly starting to warm up here. Great, then the next time the hips are towards the back of the room, let's send them all the way back, coming into a child's pose here. And if it's more comfortable for you to bring the knees as wide as the mat, you can go ahead and take that version as well. Let's bring the hands in so they're underneath the forehead, and let's rest our forehead down on top of the knuckles. Maybe rocking the head from side to side, just gently massaging out the forehead, the eyebrow. And let's start to just visualize with each exhale any tension, any negativity, any pestering thoughts just melting away into the mat. And with each inhale, let's imagine these qualities of openness, of spaciousness, of gratitude, just flooding into the body and filling you up. And let's just take 2 more breaths here, noticing if the mind is starting to wander. Great, then let's roll ourselves back up. And with your hands below the shoulders, let's start to tuck the elbows in, and we're gonna lower ourselves down onto the mat here, coming all the way to the chest. Let's bring the hands right below the shoulders, tuck the elbows in, and let's start to peel ourselves up off the mat, coming into baby cobra. Really pressing those shoulders down and opening up the chest. And then let's roll ourselves back down, letting the forehead touch the mat. And let's bring ourselves back up. You can come up a little bit higher this time if you like. Just opening through the front of the body. Coming into this gentle back bend. And then let's roll it back down, letting the forehead touch the mat. And this time you're going to come up as high as you can, maybe coming all the way to upward facing dog, or maybe staying in a cobra pose. Keeping the elbows bent, tucking them in towards the sides. And then let's roll it back down. Let's take both of our feet, pointing them and bringing them in towards the glutes. And there's a couple options here. You can either bring your hands back, just pulling the foot in towards the glute, Or you can start to kick the foot into the hands, lifting the chest and the knees up off the mat, coming into a boat pose here. Pressing the hips down into the mat and just breathing here. Great, then let's release the feet, letting them come back to the mat, bringing the hands back in front of you, and just using your hands to press yourself back to that tabletop position. And now we're going to flow through our first chaturanga. You can either stay on the knees or you can tuck the toes under, coming up into a plank position before tucking the elbows in, lowering the chest down and diving up. Really taking your time here to move through this first chaturanga. And whenever you're ready, let's tuck the toes under and send the hips up and back, coming into a downward facing dog. Let's find stillness here, just pressing both heels down into the mat. Noticing how the backs of the legs feel, just taking in information about this first down dog. Then let's bend the knees, take as many steps as you need to come forward, coming into a forward fold. Let's grab opposite elbow with opposite hand, bend the knees, and let's just start to rock a little side to side in our ragdoll. Just feeling the entire body hanging down over those legs. And let's straighten out the legs, dropping the hands. And on the next inhale, let's slide the hands up the shins, coming into flat back position. Exhale, let's bring it back down. Inhale, let's lift up to flat back position. And exhale, let's bring it down. Inhale, let's lift up. This time, let's just bring our hands to our hips and keeping the back flat. Let's lift all the way up to a standing position. And let's take some time here to find our mountain pose, really grounding all 10 toes into the mat. Rolling the shoulders down, opening the chest, tucking the ribs and tailbone in towards the center. On the next inhale, let's reach both arms up overhead, bringing the hands back through the heart center. And let's do that one more time, reaching the arms up, just envisioning that as you bring the hands down, you're bringing all of this positive energy and light with you back into your heart. Maybe taking a minute to bring back that intention. And on the next inhale, let's reach the arms up again. And this time, let's swan dive down, keeping the back flat. And then folding forward, letting the hands come down to the mat. And let's step it back to plank. And once again, if you want to drop down onto the knees or skip chaturanga, otherwise we're going to come into our plank pose, tucking the elbows in before lowering down. And again, taking your time here, coming back to down dog at your own pace, in your own time. And when you're ready, let's lift that right leg up, coming into a three-legged dog. Let's bend the knee and we're going to step it forward between the two front hands. Just taking a minute to find your grounding here. Feeling nice and stable. And then let's start to turn the back heel, planting that foot down. And then when you're ready, you can lift up. We're going to open the arms, coming into warrior two. And if you need to take a minute just to check your footing here, you can do that. Keeping a nice bend in that front knee, looking out over that front hand. And on the next inhale, let's straighten the front knee as we lift both arms up, maybe looking up to follow the hands. And exhale, let's bring it back down to warrior two. We're just going to move through that a couple times, inhaling, reaching up, and exhaling, bringing it back down. And you can just continue at your own pace, following your inhale and exhale. And let's just move through 2 more rounds here at your own pace. And let's meet back at Warrior Two, keeping those shoulders nice and relaxed from the ears. We're gonna go ahead and straighten out that front leg, and then we're just gonna turn the toes. So now both of the toes are pointed towards the front. You can go ahead and bring your hands to your hips with the toes slightly pointed inward. And keeping our back as flat as we can, let's start to hinge from the hips, coming into our wide-legged forward fold. Bringing the hands down, letting the back start to round here. And just feeling this stretch through the inner thighs. And if you want to widen your stance, feeling a little bit more of a stretch, you can do that as well. Then let's take the left hand or the left fingertips, placing them in the middle of the mat. Let's reach that right arm up, coming into a twist here. And let's bring the right arm down, and let's take it to the other side, lifting that left arm up and over, coming into a nice twist. And then let's bring that left arm back down. We're gonna turn the front toes back towards the front of the room and lift ourselves back into a Warrior Two. Great, now let's start to pivot on the back toes, reaching both arms up, coming into a low lunge position here. And then let's bring the hands down to frame the foot, stepping it back to plank. And this time let's just lower down onto the knees, sending the hips back, coming back into that child's pose. And you're gonna go ahead and bring back that intention that you set at the beginning of class. Noticing if the mind starts to wander here, and just bringing it back to the inhale and exhale. And once again, let's start to imagine any tension, any tightness just starting to melt out of the body. Feeling the muscles relax. And then let's lift ourselves back up to tabletop, tucking the toes under, and let's send the hips up and back, coming into downward facing dog. Again, just taking in information, noticing if one side feels different than the other here. Then when you're ready, let's lift that left leg up, coming into a three-legged dog. Let's bend the knee and step it forward between the two front hands. And again, taking your time to feel balanced here in our high lunge. Then when you're ready, let's start to ground through that back heel, lifting the arms up and opening up, coming into Warrior Two on the other side. And again, if you want to take a little bit of time just to check your footing here, dropping the shoulders down, looking out over that front hand. And on the next inhale, let's straighten that front leg, reaching the arms up towards the sky. And exhale, let's bring it back down to Warrior Two. Again, inhale, let's reach up, straightening the leg. And exhale, let's bring it down. And again, you can move through a couple more rounds here at your own pace. Moving with your breath here. Great, and let's just move through 2 more rounds. Really reaching those fingertips up towards the sky. And then let's meet back at our Warrior Two, dropping those shoulders down, looking out over your front hand. And then this time, let's turn the left toes so now they're facing towards the front. You can bring your hands to the hips. And this time we're just gonna heel toe the feet in so they're just a little bit wider than shoulder width apart with the toes pointed out. On the next inhale, let's reach both arms up overhead. Exhale, let's bring the hands through to heart center. And then we're going to come down into our Malasana, our yogic squat. So bending the knees, sending the hips back, and coming down as low as you can. Maybe coming all the way down with the hips, pressing the elbows into the knees. Feeling this opening here. Let's try to keep some length through the spine. And we're just going to take 3 more breaths here. Trying to find something to be grateful for in this pose. Great, then you can go ahead and start to lift the hips up, rising back up out of our squat. And let's just step it forward towards the front of our mat, coming into our mountain pose again. Tucking the tailbone in, tucking the ribs in. And let's inhale, reaching both arms up overhead. Exhale, let's swan dive down, keeping the back flat as long as we can. And then let's plant the hands down, stepping it back to plank position. And once again, option to flow through chaturanga here, or you can just meet us at downward facing dog. Really taking your time here to flow through this chaturanga. Trying not to sink into the shoulders here, keeping some length through the front body. And when you're ready, coming back to down dog. And once again, let's just take a minute to notice how the backs of the legs feel now. Maybe noticing how this feels different from the first down dog. And then let's lift that right leg up into the air again. And let's bend the knee, bringing it forward, coming into a pigeon pose. So we're bringing that right knee towards the right hand before sinking the hips down. And you want to make sure that your hips are square off towards the front of the room. And you can either stay here, really feeling this opening through the hip, through the glute, or you can start to come down onto the forearms here. Maybe resting your head down on top of the hands. And let's notice if our mind starts to wander. It's bringing us into something that we have to do after this, or something that's already happened. And let's just gently encourage the mind to come back. Focusing on the inhale and exhale. Starting to feel the muscles of that right hip, that right glute, just melting away. Any tension, releasing from the body. And with each breath, just feeling yourself coming a little deeper into this pose. Great, now let's just take 2 more breaths here. And let's walk ourselves back up onto the hands, tucking the left toes under, and let's send ourselves back to that downward facing dog. Whenever you're ready, let's send that left leg up, coming into a 3-legged dog. Then let's bend the knee and bring it forward, coming into pigeon on the other side. So bringing that left knee to the left palm, squaring off the hips. Getting those hips down as low as you can. And then again, maybe staying here, opening up through the chest, dropping the shoulders down. Or if you want to come a little deeper, you can come down onto those forearms again. Letting the head rest down into the hands. Feeling this gentle release. Noticing if this side feels different from the right side. And again, just taking in that information, taking note. Noticing if your mind is again starting to wander and just bringing it back. With each exhale, just sinking a little bit deeper. Great, now let's take 2 more breaths here. Really noticing all the sensations that come with the inhale and exhale. And then let's lift ourselves back up onto the hands. Let's tuck the right toes under and let's lift ourselves back to our downward facing dog. Again, just pressing those heels down towards the mat. Noticing again how the backs of the legs feel, how the arms and shoulders feel. Letting your head just hang down here. And then let's bend the knees, bringing it down, coming into a tabletop position here. And you can just take a minute to make sure the wrists are below the shoulders, the knees are below the hips. And then on the next inhale, let's reach our right arm up, just opening up through the chest. And exhale, let's thread it through as we drop the head and shoulders down towards the mat. Really feeling this opening through the shoulder, the rotator cuff. And if you want to come a little bit deeper, you can even experiment with lifting that left arm up into the air. Maybe even sending the left toes back, either leaving the toes planted on the mat or experimenting with lifting them up, really challenging your balance. Let's bring our attention back to that shoulder, just imagining with each breath, the shoulder coming down a little closer to the mat. And let's bring that left hand and the left leg in if you decided to do that. And then let's just press ourselves back up to that tabletop position. And let's take it over to the other side. On the next inhale, reaching that left arm up, opening through the chest. And exhale, let's thread it through as we drop the head and shoulders down to the mat. Again, if you want to experiment with lifting up that right arm, maybe even sending the right foot back, the toes resting on the mat, or if you want to challenge your balance, even lifting that leg up. Wherever you are, let's find some ease here, noticing if you can relax any muscles. And trying to imagine that shoulder just releasing. Great. Now if your hand or leg are out, let's bring them back into the body. And let's just press ourselves back up. Now leaving the hips above the knees, we're just going to start to walk the hands forward as we drop the chest down. Coming into a puppy pose here, gently arching the back. Bringing that chest down as close to the mat as we can. Maybe even letting the forehead rest down. And starting to imagine with each inhale and exhale, the chest lowering down a little closer towards the mat. Feeling that upper back and shoulders release just a little bit more. Great, now let's roll ourselves back up to tabletop. And we're just going to swing the legs over to one side, sitting down. And we're going to come into a bound angle pose. So we're going to bring the soles of the feet together as we drop the knees away. Let's sit up nice and tall here, dropping the shoulders down, grabbing onto whatever you can, either the ankles or the feet. And you can either stay here or you can start to hinge forward from the hips as far as you can before letting the head come down towards the feet. Just breathing here, feeling those muscles of the inner thighs starting to relax a little bit, maybe pushing the knees down even closer towards the ground. Great, then let's roll ourselves back up, finding some length through the spine. And if you're sitting like me, let's go ahead and make sure that we have some room behind us. We're gonna come onto our backs. And let's stay in this bound angle pose. Again, first finding some length through the spine, and then let's reach the arms up with the palms facing up. And we're gonna just gently lower ourselves down to the mat, trying to move vertebra by vertebra here. If you need to bring the hands behind you, you can do that as well. Just lowering onto the back here. And once you've come all the way down, you can let your hands rest with the palms facing up on the thighs, very gently encouraging those knees to open. Let's start to notice if we're straining a little too much in the shoulders or neck, the jaw, the muscles of the face. Let's just start to feel them melting down towards the mat. Starting to feel the breath slow down here. Again, really noticing the qualities of each inhale and exhale. And then if there's any final poses you want to come into before our Shavasana, you can go ahead and move through those now. Otherwise, we're going to start to send both of the feet out long, the arms. Let's start to notice if the mind is wandering here. And let's start to bring back those 3 things that we're grateful for, however big or small. Just taking some time to think through those things, really thinking about them, not just skimming over them. And anytime you find the mind wandering, just bring it back to those 3 things. And let's start to imagine each inhale just bringing in this positive energy, this light into your body. Letting the inhales just start to fill the body up. And each exhale, just breathing out any tension, anything that's still holding on, anything that no longer serves you, just letting it go. And whenever you're ready to come out, let's just start by wiggling the toes, wiggling the fingers, maybe reaching the arms up overhead. And coming back to that seated position, however is comfortable for you.